20 years ago, 15 years ago, you would have probably said I'm a confident person, but I was operating in an environment that I was very familiar with. I was used to, I was comfortable in. I knew what to do to improve. And that world for me till I was 27 was athletics. And when I was told, like a lot of athletes, you can no longer do that, you're done. And I had to move on. I was suddenly in an unfamiliar environment and I wasn't as confident. And that was the most difficult part of the transition. But I think that that's what leaders face. You know, as a leader, oftentimes you're being promoted into a leadership role because you were successful in a different role. And then now you find yourself in this new environment. There's things that you're not familiar with, and you maybe call yourself and see yourself as a confident person, but there's things you're not great at. And it shakes you up a little bit. And so that transition is a challenging one for so many.
You're listening to the First Class Life Show, hosted by Lindsey Vertner, a holistic personal development show for high-achieving leaders who desire to maximize their impact while creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. So grab a drink, grab your notebook, and let's get started.
Hey, First Class family. Welcome back to another episode of the First Class Life Show with your host, Lindsey Vertner. That is me. And I'm super excited about today's guest all the way in Estonia, Mr. Nick Connor. And listen, y'all, we've been connected on these internet streets for quite some time, and he is just a ball of joy every time I see him on my timeline. So I know that he has great knowledge to share with not only me, but you tuned in right now. So you know how we do. We are just going to hop right into the discussion because you're a busy, high-achieving leader. You're out there maximizing your impact and creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. So let's get right to it. Hey, Nick.
Hey, Lindsey, excited to be here. Let's dive in. Let's create some value for these people.
So first off, I need you to peel back the curtains and tell us, who is Nick Connor really? Like, give us the good tea, give us the juice.
Man, you know what? It's crazy because it's evolving so much right now. It's such an exciting time to be in this space, being a speaker and an author and a coach. I'm a new father. I'm a husband. And as you mentioned, I live over here in Estonia, which if you're like me, when my wife told me she was from Australia, when we met at a speaking engagement in Nashville, Tennessee, and I walked up to her because I was like, that's for me. She's the one. And she said, I knew right away, but when she said Estonia, I had to lie to her right off the bat because I acted like I knew where it was. And about 10 minutes later, I had to Google, where in the world is Estonia? So we're situated up here right below Finland, on the Baltic Sea and on the border of Russia. And so as many of you know that are listening, as we record this, there's a lot of crazy stuff happening in this region. But, I feel blessed to be able to impact lives virtually from a place like Estonia. And this has been a calling that's been on my life since I transitioned from a previous life as an athlete. And so all of those things kind of maybe will inform you on who I am. I'm just up here trying to impact lives in Eastern Europe right now.
Listen, can we just take a moment and appreciate you knew what you wanted and you went after it? Like, okay, that's for me. All right.
100%. I knew. And what's crazy is, there's so many cliches that, especially early on in my life, I used to be the guy that didn't want to believe in the cliches. But now I'm dropping cliches left and right because so many of them are true, like when you know. And that was the case for me. And I know you're married and I know that you have, I think, 2 kids. Is that right? And they're a little bit, so I saw a dance recital for your daughter and I'm like, okay, she's doing a thing and dance. And so, as a new parent, I look at other people who have kids and there's another cliche. It's like, you don't know love until you have your own kid. And that's a cliche that now I understand. So really fortunate that a lot of the cliches I'm experiencing in my life are positive ones.
Oh, nice. Nice. And there's so many different avenues that we can talk about, especially when we're thinking about developing as leaders, because you mentioned transitioning from a college athlete into life, transitioning over to moving to Europe, transitioning as a new dad. So there's a lot of things that come with all of those life transitions. And sometimes as leaders, especially when we're really trying to make an impact, it can be hard to deal with transitions. So before we hop deeper into that discussion, I want to know, where did you get your confidence from? Because that's a key factor in, handling these transitions with grace.
Yeah. And I did it for a long time without so much grace and just pure grit and what I call conditional confidence. And I think confidence is a journey that we all go through just like anything else. And we show up in different situations with different types of confidence. And for me, early on, my confidence was very, very conditional. If you would have met me, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, you would have probably said I'm a confident person, but I was operating in an environment that I was very familiar with. I was used to, I was comfortable in. I knew what to do to improve. And that world for me till I was 27 was athletics. And when I was told, like a lot of athletes, you can no longer do that, you're done. And I had to move on. I was suddenly in an unfamiliar environment and I wasn't as confident. And that was the most difficult part of the transition. But I think that that's what leaders face. As a leader, oftentimes you're being promoted into a leadership role because you were successful in a different role. And then now you find yourself in this new environment. There's things that you're not familiar with, and you maybe call yourself and see yourself as a confident person, but there's things you're not great at. And it shakes you up a little bit. And so that transition is a challenging one for so many. And wow, right now, so many people are making that transition, right, Lindsey, with the great resignation that's happening in the country, in the U.S. specifically. So yeah, it's confidence is seasonal. It's always evolving. And for so many people, I think it's conditional upon what their comfort zone.
I love that you said that, conditional confidence, because oftentimes we can get tied up in the titles that we have. And if we lose one of those titles, then all hell may break loose.
Yeah, for sure.
So what was that journey like? You said you were this athlete, and then you got thrust into life, and that title was gone because you couldn't play sports anymore. How did that impact you? Did you have any sense of loss of identity or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, the identity piece, that's exactly what it was. It was reshaping my identity, both from having that title removed as athlete, some of the status that was involved in that, competing at the D1 level and then making it to minor league baseball, and then also just being young and immature and trying to figure out how to become a man and all of those things. So my identity, whether or not I was transitioning from sports, was always going to be evolving at that age, right? This is 27 to 30. But you know what I lacked, Lindsey? I lacked belief in something bigger than myself. And when I think about my journey, the thing that grounded me the most, and I think that this is so important for every leader, is that belief in something bigger than yourself, whatever that is. For me, it's God. But that really has shaped my identity. And I'm so grateful to have been introduced to that by a mentor of mine, who's like a brother now, because that's really changed everything for me.
I love that you mentioned that, because I am also spiritual. I believe in God as well. So anytime I'm going through obstacles, it's like, all right, he's got a plan. He's working it out.
No doubt.
Believing that, that there's a purpose and that God will work all things out for my good.
Let's go. But Romans 8:28, my favorite scripture. Hey! I knew we were. I knew what was going on here.
Yes. The fact that you got it without me even saying the verse, look, it is a match made in heaven, okay?
I love that.
And the crazy thing is, listeners, like even for anyone that may be listening that's not spiritual, don't tune out, okay? Because listen, they're all connected together, and there has been studies at Johns Hopkins University where they took mice and rats and they were testing their ability to live, their fight to live. And whenever you believe in something bigger than yourself, like I won't get into the full details of the experiment, go look it up, guys.
Yeah.
But whenever you believe in something bigger than yourself and have hope that things will work out, you increase your risk for survival during life-threatening situations by 60%. And so that applies to all of life as well, not just life-threatening situations, but whenever we come to these moments where we feel like it's life-threatening, even though we're perfectly fine in the physical sense, right?
Are you loving the First Class Life Show? Then join our private Patreon community. Not only will you help to support our ability to provide you with great content, but you can also get exclusive perks like bonus videos and resources, discounts, episode transcripts, and more. So what are you waiting for? Join today at patreon.com/First Class Life. Again, that's Patreon, patreon.com/First Class Life.
It's so good. And I think that backing up our belief with what we need to believe deeper is so important. And that's why I love that you threw out statistics and research. What I've learned as a storyteller is that sometimes we alienate our audience, the people that we're looking to lead, because we don't have a depth of understanding of what we believe. And so I love that you brought that up. Because I think that when we do believe in something, it becomes a relationship, and the deeper we can get into that relationship, the more it's going to serve us through these adversities and through these trials that we might be going through. So, and the road is marked with many. The road is marked with many of those trials and adversities, as it sounds like your audience is well aware. That's a part of the reason why they listen to you, I'm sure.
Yes. Because we are all about creating that first class life. So back to this transition with you being a college athlete, you mentioned, you found faith and that really helped you along the way. What are some other key tips that you can share with the First Class family on if they are struggling with a loss of identity to help them start to find their path?
So whether or not you believe in God or whatever it might be, I think that intentionally defining what you value is an important step to make, because it can drive so many of the decisions that we all have to make in life. Every decision, professionally, relationally, spiritually, physically. I mean, defining those values, step one. And then number two, really understanding like what actually needs to happen in order for me to experience these things, good and bad. Tony Robbins is kind of the guy that leads with this. This is a big part of his brand. I'm not somebody who's been to Tony Robbins events. I work with a lot of people that are a part of that community, and they say great things. But what I respect Tony about is that's what he's helped pretty much everybody in his community with, is helping them define their values, understand the rules that govern how we experience good and bad things in our life. Because here's the thing, if we let that roll around subconsciously, we end up making it really easy to experience the things we don't want to experience, and we make it really difficult to experience the things that we do. And I'm not trying to live like that. I'm trying to flip that script. You know what I mean?
Okay. You and me both. Like, man, the life that we live now is a result of the thoughts that we had 5 years ago. And a lot of times, many of us are riding an autopilot, letting life happen to us instead of creating the life that we desire. Mm-hmm. So I love that you mentioned that. And I noticed that you said, good or bad,
Yeah.
defining that value, because sometimes it can be hard to find the purpose through our pain, but that is very important to do. I know I've been able to do that with the wreck that I experienced where I was brain dead and paralyzed. And look at me now, right? It led me to what I do to. You ain't heard in 2007. Yes.
Wow.
We'll have to chat because this is all about you today. But in 2007, I was brain dead and paralyzed after a fatal car wreck, and I made a full recovery. But a lot of that was my mindset, and the journey that I went on is actually the foundation of everything I do today. It's the foundation of First Class Life, which we're going to talk about in just a little bit. And so I was able to find the purpose through that pain. And I know that you've had some painful experiences in your life as well that led you to what you do today. Would you mind sharing?
Yeah. So in 2007, I had finally gotten a bit of momentum in my speaking business. I was building a bit of a brand, working with inner city Title I schools in the U.S. Title I is a funding program for schools where 70% of the kids are on free and reduced lunch. That's one of the criteria. And so I was speaking at a big event in San Antonio, Texas, biggest event of my career. I was on the way to the airport and I got a call from my little sister. And she said, "Nick, Dad needs our help." And she shared with me in that moment that he was addicted to heroin, which was crazy. I mean, many of us many of the people I come across have experienced a parent with an addiction. And so I had that growing up, but it wasn't heroin. He was addicted to alcohol. And so when I found out he was addicted to heroin, I felt called to help him. And this is at a time when I was just starting my business financially. I was still building kind of my foundation. And so it was a big decision that I made. And he came to live with me. And over those 12 months, I got to know him as a man. I got to, resolve some things that I think we all carry from the relationship with our parents. I mean, we lived, next to each other as grown men, two alphas trying to be father and son. But here we were, and I was kind of, the roles were reversed. I was trying to pour into my father spiritually. And I remember sitting up one night and I got a call shortly after he moved out with me from the violent crimes unit. The detective informed me that my father had taken his life. And in that moment, Lindsey, I felt peace. The same peace, though, that I felt when I got the call from my little sister. And that made me realize something that I think is so important about believing in something bigger than ourselves. How can you feel peace in a moment where you find out a parent, the person you love most in your life, is addicted to heroin? How can you feel the same peace when that person's taken their life? Well, that's the benefit, one of the many benefits of believing something bigger than yourself. Because had I not had that in my world, in my life, I wouldn't have had the benefit of getting to know my father for a year, resolving some things from my childhood with him. And so that's a part of the reason I felt peace as well. And so it's been about 7 years from that day, and still it's been one of the most positive things that's ever happened to me, because it's made me go deeper into what I believe, conviction in what I believe, which is a gift that we get when we are convicted about our beliefs.
That is so good. First off, my condolences.
Thank you.
And the fact that you felt peace during that moment, that just really speaks volumes, because you did have an entire year back with your dad, whether, it might have started rocky, but the fact that you had that year sounds like it probably wouldn't have came had, the situation not occurred. And then you wouldn't have built that year-long relationship where you got to, deepen your bond and things like that. So really understanding that not all things are as they seem when they are presented to us initially. Yeah. Sometimes we just have to trust and believe, like you said, that everything will work out for our good, and believing in something bigger. So for anyone that may be listening right now, what would you say is a key advice to help them? Because I know that's not easy for everyone to be at peace during a, quote, traumatic, well, not, you didn't say traumatic, but
Sure.
air quotes, traumatic experience like that.
I believe that we are really internal spiritual beings having a, human experience. And so the joy and peace that I've created in my life and that I've seen from the people that I'm close to has always started from within, and understanding who you are, what you want, and then honoring that, cooperating with that. So many of us in seasons of our lives, we resist the things that we really want most. Now, I'm not talking about being, hedonist and irresponsible. You know what I mean? I'm still talking about being responsible and taking care of responsibilities, but at the same time, honoring what it is that we want. And I think this is especially true when we're trying to lead a household, potentially, certainly employees, team members. When we're looking to lead and pour into other people, sometimes there's a conflict, right? Because it's like, here's what I want, but I'm in this leadership position. And so I need to kind of put my needs, down. I need to, kind of push them down so I can be something I need to be to other people. But I don't think that works. I think that we have to take care of who we are, what we need, so we can overflow with the great things that we're capable of giving to other people. And a lot of people are getting that twisted right now. They're trying to give too much to other people, and they're walking around as empty vessels. And it just doesn't work, Lindsey. We don't have the energy and capacity for that. We don't.
Exactly. Yes. So, Nick, this is so good. Okay.
We're vibing.
We don't have the energy and capacity for that. It makes me think of the self-care aspect because, we like to think that, I got to put my kids first. That's especially true for parents, is that I got to put my kids first. And then society makes us feel like if we don't put our kids first, then we're selfish and we're neglectful parent. But in actuality, we have to put ourselves first so that we can be present and fully attentive for our kids. Because if we don't, we end up, going through depression or anxiety or being suicidal because we've built up all of these things where we've been running on E. And eventually, let's use a car, for example. Eventually, if you keep your car on E, it's not going to run
That's
anymore.
right.
So you got to keep it filled up with gas. And so self-care comes into play to fill us up with gas so that we can serve who we're meant to serve, whether that's our kids or, clients or employees or spectators at a sports event.
Yeah.
What are some ways that you practice self-care?
I get into rooms. And that's why I'm excited to hear that you're going to be doing an event yourself, a live event. Thank goodness for live events being back. I'm the type that I've recognized, and I think you'll probably relate to this, Lindsey, like I get fueled and fired up by being in the energy of a live room with the right people. And I find that, so often we rely on the internet and video conferencing, especially nowadays with everything that we've been kind of conditioned to do through COVID. And we forget that we're still alone. Like there's nobody else in here. So we're missing out on the energy of being live in a room. And so, I'm inspired by the fact that you're running a live event around this topic, I believe, of self-care. And I'm going to be now really putting the wheels in motion to run my own live events. I've really prided myself on going to other people's events, but I just see there's such a need for it. And so self-care for me is that. It's getting around the people that fire and fuel me up, and then protecting my energy from those people that make me feel drained and other feelings that I don't want to feel as much. It's like really protecting my capacity by doing less of those things. And it's not just people, right? It's, TV, news, too much information, too many podcasts, too much input, So these are the things that help me take care of of me so that I can be who I need to be, because I have a lot of responsibility. I have a lot of clients. I have, team members that are relying on me to produce so I can, pay them. I've got a family, I've got, extended family. So I've got a lot of responsibility. So I have to protect my energy, and I do that. I say no to a lot of things, and it's what a blessing that is, by the way. To be able to say no to some stuff, girl. Hey, when I was first starting off this business, and you'll know this for all of you listening that are building a business, sometimes you say yes to some things. You're inside, you're like, I probably shouldn't do this, but you do it anyway. And it's such a I count that blessing every time I get to say, hey, I appreciate the opportunity, but it's not for me. That's an incredible feeling.
I feel like that was low-key full circle as well, because you can say no to things that aren't aligned with your values, but first you have to know your values to know that it's not aligned with your values and going to cause conflict down the line. Look at that. I love that you mentioned protecting your energy as well, because unfortunately, so many people don't understand that there's always an energy exchange. Yeah. You're either giving and pouring, or you are taking and receiving, or, it's an equal exchange where, nobody is left higher or lower than the other, but it's all happening subconsciously. And so it's important to recognize the people, places, and situations that drain out our energy, because I can't talk because I'm so excited about this conversation. It's affecting how we show up. When we're drained, we can't show up and make the biggest impact that we are destined to make. So I know that, you mentioned self-care, getting in the rooms with the right people. So what happens whenever you find yourself around somebody that's not really your cup of tea, not your energy, very draining, whatever it is that it may be? How do you remove yourself from that situation or protect your energy from that situation?
I dropped the need for being interesting and just decided to get interested. All right. And what that helps me do is just show up and love people, and I'm not perfect at it, but I try to not judge somebody. I'm assessing if this is somebody that I want to, pursue some type of a relationship with at all times, because I believe in cooperation, collaboration, all right, and community. I believe in those things. But sometimes, right away, like, this isn't the person for me. And so, but look, I had a lot of people looking at me like that when I was getting into rooms I had no business being in. And I very seldom ever felt judged. I very seldom in those types of rooms felt I wasn't enough, right? For their reasons. They never made me feel that way. I might have felt that way because I was going through some transitions. So I try to show up like that, Lindsey. I try to give people my time and attention, even if it's for 2 or 3 minutes, and be present. And I hope that that's something that people feel, no matter who they are, when they're around me. Because look, when you're a leader, when you are in a position of influence and you want to make an impact, especially if you're trying to make an income with it, I believe that's a responsibility that we have, is to help people feel that they matter, and to give them the benefit of our presence and attention, because we got people paying us for that.
Right.
and so if we can impart that, it's not a strategy, but it's a strategy. It's something people are going to remember you for. And if you can learn how to do what we're talking about right now as a leader, this is what, Bill Clinton, whether you like him or not, this is really what he's known for more than being a president, is how he makes the person he's shaking hands with in the front row of a speech feel like they're the only person in the room. That's something that he's cultivated that served him well in his trajectory. Again, I'm not endorsing Bill Clinton, but I'm endorsing the skill of helping people feel your presence. And I think that's such a great skill to cultivate if you want to have more impact and be a great leader.
That is so true, because, people remember how you make them feel more than what you said to them.
Yes,
right?
So true.
It's like, you made me feel amazing. I want more of you, or I want to share what you gave to me with someone
Mm-hmm.
else. It's like a ripple
Yeah,
effect.
it's true. It really is. Really is.
I love that. Such a good conversation.
Looking for amazing products to help boost your first class lifestyle? Then head over to firstclasslifeshop.com, where you can treat yourself to personal development books and workbooks, lifestyle affirmation cards, adult coloring books, mugs, notebooks, hoodies, t-shirts, leggings, and more. All products were designed to help you master your mindset, walk in your purpose, and live your first class life because you deserve it. So treat yourself today at firstclasslifeshop.com. Again, that's firstclasslifeshop.com.
Well, I think that this is a good time to play a little game if you are down.
I'm open to game. I love games.
Yes,
I'm gonna get my glove. I'm ready for the game.
Oh, okay. Got the glove. All right. Let me see what I can toss you underhand, overhand.
Throw it my way.
So this is what I like to call first class favorites, and it's really easy. I'm just gonna say what's your favorite blank, and you fill in the blank. Simple. But you got to do it in 10 seconds.
Fast, rapid. Okay, got it.
Yes. If you miss the buzzer, then the first class family, they either have to take a shot or do a push-up or something.
That sounds good to me.
Yes. So here, what do you want the first class family to do should you miss the buzzer by chance?
Oh, dang. People might be driving when they're listening to this. I got to be careful. Oh man, what do you do? Okay, if I miss the buzzer, I like the push-up idea. Let's do some push-ups, but not one. Yeah, at least 10 push-ups.
Oh, okay. Taking it.
Yeah, let's go. We go big.
10 push-ups per missed buzzer, and if you're driving, just wait and do them.
Yeah. Don't be doing push-ups while you're driving.
So that's how that will work. So we'll start with something easy. What's your favorite color?
Black.
Go. Okay. Listen, I'm fine to black myself.
Let's go.
What's your favorite season of the year and why?
Fall. It's just a mix of warm and a little bit of cold, and I can wear a light jacket, which is my style.
Okay. Yes. And it's very pretty as well. What's your favorite drink?
I'm a Scotch guy. You see a 21-year Belvini right back there that I got on a Scotch tour in Scotland. Scotch. That's my drink. Otherwise, it's water for me.
Nice. Okay. I was about to say Irish Scotch, but I guess that would be Scottish Scotch. I don't know. Where is Scotch
actually whiskey
from?
And even if you're in Scotland and you call it Scotch, they're like, no, it's whiskey. It's kind of like saying Canadian bacon. Let me get some Canadian bacon when you're in Canada. Like, no, it's just bacon. Yeah, that's what it is. So it's whiskey. It's all whiskey. Yeah, that's all the same.
So when you're in the area, you ask for some Scottish water or Irish water, or I don't know why I'm so stuck on it being from Scotland.
Yeah, it's all good. It is as long as it's 2 fingers in a glass. That's how you order it. Give me 2 fingers, and that'll make sure you have a real good time.
Oh, okay. I'll have to remember that. What is your favorite song, artist, and title?
Oh, One Mic, Nas, 100%. One of my favorite songs of all time.
Hey, all I need is one mic. Yeah. Okay. What's your favorite book, title, and author?
That's a tough one. It Takes What It Takes by Trevor Moward, who we just lost to cancer too soon, is a phenomenal book that's out recently. But my favorite book of all time is the Word, the Bible.
Okay, that part. And I forgot to start the buzzer on that one, but yeah, I know you got the answer out in the 10 seconds.
I got it in there. No push-ups. We're not doing any push-ups today.
Look, y'all are either getting punished or rewarded, depending on how you think of it, right? Perspective. What is your favorite place to travel specifically? Go.
Dubai right now has been one of the most eye-opening places in the world for me. So Dubai right now is the top place that I've been.
I have not
You
been
got to
to
get
Dubai
over there.
yet. Closest I've been to Dubai is Egypt.
Oh, cool. I haven't been there. My wife's been. You got to get to Dubai. Like, that's a great place for speakers as well right now. Like, they're hungry for leaders, influencers, and it's an incredible opportunity. We definitely got to chat about that.
Okay. You know, I'm down. I love traveling. I love speaking. So, okay. What is your favorite activity to do to relax?
I go to a cigar lounge every Thursday by myself, and I sit, I smoke a cigar, and I just completely unplug, and that's my thing. And I trim my beard. It's like, for some weird reason, it relaxes me. I used to cut my own hair, but you know, I don't. That takes too long now. So trimming my beard and smoking a cigar makes me relax. It works for me.
It's all about knowing yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. You got to know those different activities that you do just for you, no matter how simple it may seem. You know, you might be off in another world whenever you trim your beard and not even.
That's exactly what it is. I think it's because you're so focused, like, because symmetry is so important to me in life. If things are not centered, I'm like, what are you doing? If things are not balanced. So the same thing with my face, which is imperfect. So I'm constantly trying to focus. So I just forget about everything else while I'm doing that. And so that's like meditation for me, which meditation for me has never worked. You made a great point. You know, sometimes we got to find out, well, sometimes all the time, we need to try things, figure out what works for us. And that's what works for me.
Yes. And I love that you go to the cigar lounge by yourself because, you know, sometimes people have trouble sitting with themselves or sitting with their own thoughts. And, you know, I truly believe it's because you're scared of what you're going to uncover once you do that and just trying to quiet down your mind.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah. I like
Listen,
being by myself. I've kind of always liked that. I think you're right. People worry a little bit too much about what they're going to find out, but also a little bit too much worried about what people are going to think. Like, go eat by yourself, go to the movie by yourself. It's all good. You know, it's all good. And you might learn something.
Okay, that part, because that's what happens when you get to know yourself. You learn things you didn't know that you needed to know. Right. I love it. Listen, First Class family, make sure that you are a member of our private Patreon community because we have our First Class favorite things. Nice, uniquely curated list created by all of our phenomenal guests, such as this. It has your book list, your song playlist, places to travel, because we're all about traveling, you know, experiencing the world as a form of self-care, and relaxing activities. So in case you need to do some self-care, which you do, while you're not traveling. So you can find that beautiful First Class favorite things, you know, like Oprah has her favorite things. Cool. We got our favorite things. Yes, find that in our private Patreon community. Just click the link in the show notes and you can get access to that, plus a lot more bonus content and footage as well. So let's get back to this discussion because it's so good. I don't want it to end. Let's talk about what it means to live a first class life. So if you're new to the show, then First Class Life is actually an acronym that stands for all of the different characteristics and traits that you want to embody into your lifestyle to create a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. Now, guess what? We're not going to go over all of those right now. If you want to know, then make sure you go watch the very first episode of the show, and I explain each of them in detail, or go to firstclasslifeshop.com where you can just buy the book and read it for yourself, okay? But meanwhile, we want to ask the lovely, lovely Mr. Nick, which factor of First Class Life do you feel that you resonate with the most?
You know, when I think about the acronym and I look at the different pieces of it, so many stand out because they're important. But what I love is that you've included being intentional, because there's so much information that's out there and everybody listening is learning from you. They're learning from other resources and sources. And it's the intention that allows us to take action on what we're learning. Because the thing about personal development, and the thing about other things we do to take care of ourselves is that unless we're employing it in our life, taking action on it through intention, it can become a bit tormenting. And so that's why I love that you put intention in there, because look, it's great that we got a vibe. We've had a great time. But my hope for your audience is that they've learned one thing, they've heard one thing that they can now take and go implement with intention into their life. Because collecting all of this information and good energy, it's going to go away. But implementing something that you've heard with intention, that's really where the change in your life is going to happen. So I love that you've added that into the acronym of so many great other things that you stand for.
Yes. Make sure y'all implement with intention. And I like how you mentioned whenever we're not intentional, things around us can torment us and we not even realize it.
Especially personal development.
So
especially personal development. The collecting information, sitting on it, knowing what you should do but not doing it, that's difficult. It's difficult to do that. We can't avoid the conscious, subconscious effect that happens when we learn. You know better, you do better. Like that's an actual law. Like that's real. Like, once you know, it's hard to unlearn that. And so gotta implement.
Yes, it won't always be easy, but it's always for the better.
No doubt.
Right?
No doubt.
Even if you fail, even if you, quote, fail at implementing, you are improving, and it's for the better, because now you know what not to do. Now you know what adjustments to make. Now you know that, maybe this wasn't for me. Like, I had a whole life set up around this idea, but now that I've actually started working in it, I'm like, negative. I need to go left instead of right.
That happens a lot too. It happens a lot. Like I mentioned, Dubai earlier is one of my favorite places to visit. I was not trying to go to Dubai the first time we went during Christmas. I was like, I want snow. I want, all the things I'm used to during Christmas time. And I'm not trying to go to Dubai during Christmas. We went to Dubai during Christmas because my wife, insisted. And I had a ball. I had a ball. So, being open-minded on your path, being willing to be intentional, but not be so rigid that you can't take a little bit of a detour when it obviously makes sense. It's so important. And it's a skill. It's a skill to be able to do that. And everybody I've met that's living a great life, they have that skill. They have that skill. So it's so good that you mentioned that.
Listen, I think you may have mentioned it first.
Well,
but the conversation is just flowing, right? So you were like, I'm not doing it. I don't want to go to Dubai. I want snow. And granted that, depending on how you look at it, that could be a small moment of pivot, but you've had to navigate through these transitions often, the college athlete and professional athlete to, I don't want to say regular life, because all life is amazing, but, outside of the athletic realm of life, and then transitioning, moving to Europe, that whole thing right there. So you've really developed the power to acknowledge the pivot in a sense, whenever you think you're going one way and you end up going the other way. So what are some tips on how we can acknowledge our pivots whenever we have to take a detour?
Being in tune and having the space, creating the space to do it, number one. And we've mentioned a lot of ways you can do that by, taking care of yourself, protecting your energy, prioritizing what you need so you can hear the prompting. And it sometimes shows up as a whisper. It's not always going to be loud, but it's usually persistent and consistent. No matter what you try to do to ignore it, it's always there. Those are the promptings. And so when you get the prompting, the way that you can actually take action on it is to let go of the need to have a lot of, like, I would call them worldly possessions. When I knew that I was going to propose to my wife, Lisa, I was living in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'd worked really hard to have some things, fill an apartment, get myself into an apartment in a particular place in the city. I created an environment for myself that I really wanted and didn't have for so long. And because I had prioritized family in my life, Lindsey, I knew that as soon as I was making the decision to leave, to come to Europe, to marry Lisa, that we were probably going to stay here. And because I had reached a point in my life where I required material things less, I got them and it was great. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I didn't need them. I wanted them. I didn't need them. And so my priority was family. So I did what I needed to do. I sold a lot of things. I gave a lot of things away and I let go of the attachment. And I think that what so many people are doing in their life is they're taking on these responsibilities that keep them from being able to move freely and pivot. You know, the mortgage, overextending themselves with credit, just, trying to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak. And because of that, they get a little handcuffed when it comes time to pursuing what they really want. And so that's why I encourage people, just look, addition by subtraction. Responsibility is a good thing, but take responsibility on that you really want so that you can be constantly making forward progress to your vision and eliminate the things that you don't really want. You know what? Like, do we really need the extra cable a subscription? Do we really need Hulu and Netflix? Little decisions like that help us minimize our responsibility, our commitments, so we can make decisions quickly when we feel those promptings.
I love that you said that. Addition by subtraction.
That's a 6-figure, 7-figure revenue swing. If you own a business, if you're an entrepreneur specifically, but in any area of life that you could quantify in maybe a different way. Like, for my clients, I help them, create more wealth in their business. And one of the things that I talk about are 6-figure, 7-figure revenue leaks, things that we're doing that are costing us massive amounts of income in our business and in our life. And so addition by subtraction is the starting point to fix those. Usually the big growth that we have is not by adding new things, it's by removing things that are keeping us weighed down. And so that's a massive takeaway. If you walk away with that one thing and you implement it, that's going to create massive change in your life in a very short amount of time. You'll feel it.
Do you want to be surrounded by other high-achieving women who are working on their goals just like you? Are you looking for your circle that's passionate about their own growth yet still wants to see you shine? Do you desire to be supported through collaborations and connections instead of competition? Then Cowork and Chill is your place to be. Cowork and Chill is a hybrid of virtual co-working and virtual networking. It's a community of women who are striving to build living legacies. This is the space to create meaningful relationships with other equally yoked women where you're being poured into just as much as you pour out. So if you're looking for your crew for supportive accountability, then sign up today at coworkandchill.com. That's COWORKANDCHILL, coworkandchill.com.
Yeah, and you will feel it, because even thinking about when we take on too many things, how we can, start to carry it in our shoulders. And it's like we've got the weight of the world on top of us. And then when we release some things and let it go, I just had this conversation with the client the other day about, they were also a believer, and having them, let go and let God. We've heard that phrase before, just the sense of relief that you will have when you let some things go. So I love that you mentioned that. And, you mentioned that you help people, build that 6-7-figure business. Okay. So I know that you're a coach, author, speaker. So tell us a little bit more about how you impact the world as a leader yourself.
Well, I'm fortunate to be able to have access to the same tools that all of you have, the internet, cameras, microphones, these platforms that put us in front of people, incredible people that take the time, energy, and effort to put together a podcast, which is no small task. We all have access to these opportunities to share a message. But the problem that I saw happening is there's a lot of incredible people, Lindsey, that want to do what you and I do. They want to make an impact. They want to serve. They want to lead, but they don't feel confident enough to speak up about what they want most. They don't feel ready. They feel underprepared, underqualified. And, I felt really called to help solve that problem in the world. And so for the last 4 years, my business has really been to partner and align with impact-driven entrepreneurs to help them confidently speak about what they offer on any platform. And it's so incredible when you see somebody step into the calling that they have on their life. And make no mistake about it, everybody listening might not have the calling you have, Lindsey, or the calling I have to be a speaker, a coach, an author, all of those things. But we all have that thing. And being able to just see somebody, help somebody in my ways that I do, step into that and just start. That is the most rewarding thing, because that's where it all starts, right? Is just that first step. And there's always a first step, isn't there? The next step. And so I love what I do. It's not work to me. I can't believe I get paid to do this. I cannot believe it's shocking to me. Like I just told my wife earlier today, I was just telling her a call I had with a client, and I was like, she gets overwhelmed by my excitement sometimes. She hears it all the time. I'm like, I'm just so excited by the stuff happening, that I'm able to do every day. So it's a lot of fun.
That's so nice. Whenever you love what you do, it really isn't work. And, I know exactly what you mean about helping people to find that it factor that is for them, and just watching them bloom and blossom. It really is one of the greatest things in the world. And, no matter who you are, no matter what you do, we all have a purpose. We all have that we all have that thing. And so sometimes you just need somebody to help you figure out what it is, So I love the work that you're doing. Do you have any services or products or anything for the First Class family? Like if they wanted to work with you, or if they wanted to come to your upcoming live event that you are planning?
Yeah, no matter what you do, if you want to be a leader, I think that there's number one, there's certain beliefs that you must adopt. There's certain behaviors, skills that we need to cultivate and develop. And then there's certain boundaries, right? There's structure that we need to create for ourselves and then for the people that we're influencing. And so, nickconnor.com is the best place to get the most recent resource that I have to just help you confidently speak up about who you are and what you do, whether you're a coach, speaker, author or not. If you're a leader, that will be a great resource for you. It's a 3-part video series, and I'm happy to share that. And then if there are anybody that sounded weird. I don't know if that made sense. If any of you are looking to get booked on podcast, if you think to yourself when you're listening to Lindsey and you're part of this First Class community and you're thinking, I would love to be on podcasts, I put together a tool or a mini course that I gave away at an event I spoke at last night. If anybody wants to get booked for that, it's a really valuable thing I put together. And it's what I call the priority podcast pitch, because again, so many people want to get booked on podcasts, but they don't speak up and approach podcast hosts like yourself because they don't feel like they're ready. And so it's something that if you have a small list, if you don't feel like you're ready to get on the podcast you really want to approach, I definitely encourage you to download this mini course. It's completely free. All of these resources are free. But we can link that up maybe for them, Lindsey, if they do have a desire to do something similar to what you and I are doing. That's a great resource there.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mention that site one more time.
It's nickconnor.com, CONNOR.com. There's a resource there. And then nickconnor.com/podcast. And my team linked that up with a capital P. So make sure you put capital P in podcast so that you get it. Now I can't change it because I offered it last night with a capital P. So I don't want to mess up the link. So it's nickconnor.com/podcast with a capital P, and you'll get access to that course.
Nice. And is it podcast singular or plural?
Singular.
Nice. Don't worry, guys. We will have all of that info in the show notes for you, okay? So make sure you check it out so then you can just clink it.
And it's funny because for a second I was like, what is singular? What is plural? I was like, good Lord, am I really out of touch? Like, yeah, but it's that's great that you're linking it up for them.
Mm-hmm. Clink the link. Okay, that's my new phrase. Clink the link. All right. So we got nickconner.com. Are there any other ways that they can find you on these internet streets?
On Instagram at Nick Conner, and that's pretty much where I'm most active on social media. And what I love is if you got some value out of this, what I would love for you to do right now is take a screenshot of this and go to your stories on Instagram, tag Lindsey, tag me, tag the show, and share that with your community, because what Lindsey's doing here for all of you is so valuable. It's no small task to put together podcasts like this. It's a massive amount of effort, and she's so professional. It's been really a joy, Lindsey, to go through your process. I've learned about podcast guesting, podcast hosting from your process. You've got the details dialed in. And so anyway, share this with your community. Tell us what you're inspired by today. And just by taking that action, just being intentional and taking action on that, that's going to help you retain what you just learned here today.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Listen, y'all have to connect with the Nick Conner, okay? CONNOR, not ER. FYI. Thank you for being a phenomenal guest. Do you have any final words of advice on how we can create our first class?
The hardest person to convince is yourself. Convince yourself first. Convince yourself first. And, if you can lead with the heart, get out of your head a little bit, you're going to be in good shape. You're going to be in good shape. And I wish all of you the best. It's been an honor to have a chance to speak into your life.
I love it. I love it. Well, guys, I know that you could be doing anything in the world right now, but you are tuned in with us, Nick Conner and myself, Lindsey Vertner, here on the First Class Life Show. And we appreciate you. We do not take it lightly, okay? So we are grateful. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure that you keep going out there and maximizing your impact as the phenomenal leader you are and creating your first class life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. See you next time. Bye.
Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. But please be sure to subscribe to the First Class Life Show. And don't forget to rate, leave a review, and join our private community so that we can continue to provide you with great personal development conversations to help you maximize your impact while creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. You deserve it.